Welcome to the Bettendorf Public Library's Take Home Workshop. Today we're going to be making leaf stencil paintings. This is a little bit different than a usual stencil because it's kind of a reverse stencil. But let's go ahead and look at the kit and then I'll show you what I mean by a reverse stencil. So in your kit you will find a canvas board. You will find paint. These are acrylics with an extra container of black, a brush, and then you'll find a stencil. You probably can't see it here, but this does have our leaf shape cut on there. This leaf shape was designed specifically so like the outside edge and the veins of the leaf will all come off. They're all in one plate, in one piece, which works well for a reverse stencil like what we're doing. Optionally, you might want something to prepare or to protect your work surface, which I'm going to because I'm messy. And I'm just using wax paper over my table. And then I'm going to use a craft stick to burnish my stencil down. That is not necessary. You can also use your fingers. You can use something like an old credit card if you have a bone folder, anything like that. Anything you want to make sure that your stencil sticks really hard. So that's what you need. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first step, I'm actually not going to show you. You get a white canvas like this, you need to make it look something like this. And this is literally for those of us who can't paint, who don't have artistic talent. And all I did was I took my paintbrush and I dipped it and I blobbed and just blobbed it all over. And so I used red and yellow, a little bit of brown here and there, the red, and the colors mix so you have all different variations of pinks and oranges and everything. So I just blobbed it on there, and now I'm going to let that dry. So I did that already. I've let this dry. It's been sitting for, well, mine's actually been sitting there for a few days, but I would, if possible, depending on how thick you put it on, let it dry overnight. Some of these areas got pretty thick, so I let it sit overnight. So we're gonna take our stencil and very carefully, I'm gonna start at the stem and we're gonna peel this up. So ordinarily, with a stencil, you are putting you're using the stencil to protect the surrounding area of what you're trying to paint. And you would paint inside, what we're leaving behind here. We are going to protect the design and paint the surrounding area. So it's a little bit of a reversal from how stencils are usually done. So there's lots of little bits here in our design. And if they don't come up cleanly, which this hasn't, then you'll just need to, again, very carefully go in and pop these little pieces out. So these designs were all cut on our Cricut and our Silhouette that we have in the Creation Studio. So you could develop your own design and you could bring it in and cut your stencil. You could cut bunches of them and make a big piece of artwork. You can do whatever shape you want. You can do this design with a word, like maybe, do the background all in pinks and reds, and then just do like a big heart shape or heart shapes or the word love or anything like that. Any shape that will work. Because you can customize that completely using the Cricut or the Silhouette. Okay, so I have all the bits and pieces. Let me show you against a white canvas. All the bits and pieces out. And so now I'm going to position it. Now the canvas that I'm working with here is bigger than the one you guys have. So this is a 5x7, and we sized the stencil to that correct size. Mine is, I think, a 6x8. This was a leftover that we had. So if I was doing this to like hang in my house, I would probably do it with a bigger leaf. Okay, so now that's stuck down where I want it. And now you can take your finger and you can go over it. You can take a craft stick. I like the craft stick. You know what? I think I do like my finger better on this one. So the tricky part here is that the canvas itself is not smooth. And so you really want to get in there to make sure that every little bit is stuck down as tightly as you can, because you're going to go over this whole thing with black. And you don't want any bleeding under your stencil. That's always the issue with any kind of stencil, this kind or a reverse stencil like this or a regular stencil. You don't want the paint bleeding underneath. Okay, so that's stuck really well. So I'm going to take my black paint. Now, you don't have to do black. If you decide that you wanted to do this background in, say, shades of black and gray with maybe pops of red, and then cover the whole thing with white, you can. We liked the look of the black, so we made sure you had enough paint to cover your whole canvas in black. So I'm going over this and I'm putting it on relatively thickly, but I don't want it to be really globby. I want my finished product to be smooth. And what that means is that I'm probably going to need to have more than one coat, because you can see some of the background texture and color is showing through. Oops, and this is why, right there, that's why I put down something to protect my surface, because I dropped brushes. So you can see with this first coat that some of the background texture and color is bleeding through a little bit. And so I'm going to do one coat, then I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to do a second coat. The other thing you want to do around the stencil, and delicately and gently, but you want to go at it from different angles, because you want to make sure it gets into all those little corners. I want to do that, then I'm just going to go over it lightly again, and then I'm just going to fill in the rest of my canvas. Okay, so I've covered my entire canvas, and I've tried to make sure that the paint is as smooth as possible. And you can see that there are still areas where that base color, that base layer that I put down is showing through. So I'm gonna let this dry. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not going to be patient. I'm gonna go use probably a heat gun or a blow dryer to get it to dry faster. Otherwise, you can just let this sit overnight and come back tomorrow and decide if you want to do a second coat. I know I'm going to want one, so I'm going to go get it to dry, and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, voila, it is dry. I ended up using a blow dryer. I went for the heat gun first, but what we want is air movement, not heat. I'm afraid too much heat is going to melt our stencil or melt the adhesive, and we don't want that. We want that to stay stuck. So I just used a blow dryer set on a low setting. A fan, if I had had access to one, would have been perfect. You could just prop this up in front of the fan, let it go have your lunch, come back, and it's done. So you can see now it's dry, it's more of a matte finish, and you can see that I did not get, one coat is not great coverage. So I'm going to date my brush here, which has been sitting in water so it wouldn't get all dried out and crusty. And I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. And we're just going to do light strokes. If you push too hard, then your paint starts to lift up the paint underneath it. So you want very, very light strokes. You don't want to go over the same area too many times. And I'm just going to keep doing that, and I'm going to cover the whole canvas again. And then I'll probably go at it with a blow dryer, and then we'll come back and we'll take another look and decide if a third coat will be needed. So this is 2 coats, and I'm pretty happy with it, but there are just a few spots here and there that I think could stand to have a little bit more. So I'm just going to, instead of going over the whole thing this time, I'm just going to fill in the occasional spot and just darken those down a little bit. As you're going over, same as before, you want a real light touch because you don't want to be pulling up paint from the previous layers. I find if you want a smooth finish, and you certainly don't have to, if you want like a choppy brush stroke finish, something more impressionistic, do that. That could be very cool. I'm going for a smooth finish though, so I'm laying my brush as flat as I possibly can to get as much smoothness as possible. It occurred to me as I was drying this with my handy dandy blow dryer that if you wanted to put your top coat on with like a roller, a little sponge roller, or even spray painting, that would give you a nice smooth finish too, and both would work really well with the stencil. Right here. Okay. I think I have all my light spots now. If I don't pull up more paint. Okay, we'll go let that dry and be right back. Okay, we have good coverage, we have nice smooth coverage, it's all dry, it's time for the magic. So I'm going to see if I can't lift this stencil off. Yep, just with my finger. If necessary, you could get like the tip of a razor or a pen or something like that to get it started, but you should be able to just get in there under your fingernail. And we're just going to peel this up. And look at that. So you can see that there still was a little bit of bleed through underneath. I don't mind that for this project. Sometimes with stencils you want that really clean line. For this, I like it. It gives it a little bit more natural, rough feel. So there is your leaf stencil painting, your reverse stencil painting. We want to see what you've done. I would really love to see it, especially if you decide you're going to take this and carry it farther and do different pieces with different colors or different shapes. I would love to see that. So share it with us on social media, and we'd like to thank the Bettendorf Public Library Foundation and Quad City Bank and Trust for sponsoring this take-home workshop.